and welcome back to my channel and another episode from my Artist Life Hacks series, y'all. Yes, girl. So those of you who are familiar with my artwork already know that Mama loves drawing her some hands, girl. Yes, baby. They're personally my favorite thing to draw. And since I started my Artist Life Hack series, you guys have been begging me on social media like Instagram and YouTube and all that good stuff, begging me for a video on how to draw hands. So that's what we're going to be doing today, my YouTube babies. Hashtag love my babies. So today I'm going to be sharing a lot of hacks, tips, and techniques that I either currently use or used to use when I was still learning how to draw hands properly that I know will make drawing hands so much easier for you guys. And also please check out my published series, Sacred. I have the first 2 chapters here on YouTube if you are interested, and the artwork I showed you earlier in this video is from that series, so just in case you're interested. So without further ado, let's get started. You want to get better not because you hate your art. You want to get better because you want to be able to draw anything and everything you can ever imagine. So keep that mindset when watching my videos and when practicing, and it'll make your journey way happier and way easier and memorable for all the right reasons. But I want to add a little disclaimer here that just because you watch the video doesn't mean that you're instantly going to be able to draw hands properly. Just like everything else, and just like I always say in all of my videos, you have to really take what I say in the video and practice it every day. Dedicate 10 minutes, a half hour to dedicate time to it every day and practice and really pay attention to what I'm saying in the videos, because I promise you it will help you retain the information and you'll eventually memorize everything and it'll become second nature to you. But it's not going to be easy in the beginning. Nothing ever is, but that's okay. Just have fun with it, practice it, and take that mindset and watch my other Artist Life Hack videos, because I promise you when you watch these videos you will get something really positive out of them and it'll make your journey as an artist so much easier. Hack number 1, when drawing hands, do not become overwhelmed by all the fingers and doodads. Break it down into basic shapes to really map out the hand and then add the details later. Now this is what I mean by this. It also becomes easier if you look at the palm and the fingers as 2 separate shapes. Now, when you look at your hand, think of your palm as like a little square, a rounded square, but just when you sketch it out, draw it out as a square. And the fingers could either form a triangle, some type of half circle thingy, or a complete fan. So you see that shape right there? So when you are sketching out a hand, that's pretty much what you want to do first. And this is pretty much how the process will look. So the very first thing you want to do is actually map out the overall shape of the hand. Or like I mentioned before, you have to think of the palm and the fingers as 2 separate shapes. So the palm looks something like this. This also has a little bit of the wrist in it. Gonna make it nice and dark so you guys could really see what it is that I'm doing. Remember, this is just a basic sketch. We're just mapping it out for now. Now the next thing I wanted you guys to see is the shape that the fingers take on. So it's something like this. Remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. We're just mapping out the shapes right now. Now, I don't know if you can see, but the palm is more or less the same length as the longest finger. So the palm should be about as long as the shape that we're drawing for the fingers. Now, let's look at these 3 fingers together. They kind of form their own little triangle. But 1, 2, 3, 4 fingers, right? So let's make sure that we divide up the palm equally among the fingers so that we know exactly where the line of the middle finger will go. That's more or less the shape. Now you see between the index finger and the middle finger, it forms like a little wedge. Represent that. And now the index finger comes down. Now this is made up of 3 fingers, so let's divide that up among the 3 fingers. And the pinky, this little bend right here, more or less there. The bend of the pinky, then this subtle bend, the bend of the ring finger, and the subtle bend of the middle finger, and then later on we'll go in and fix it up a bit. Remember, we're just mapping everything out, so it's not like super perfect or anything. Now let's go to the thumb, kind of form a little triangle. More or less like this. And that's pretty much how it is, and the next thing you'll do is start correcting the anatomy and the proportions, erasing the sketches and thinning everything out and just fixing it up. But this is how you would map out the hand. And now it's up to you to spend as much time as you need making sure that all the little details that you see on your hand, you actually represent it in your drawing. Let's try that whole technique again, but this time with a closed hand. You and I are going to be seeing this hand at a slightly different angle because, the camera's seeing it in one way and I'm actually here, so the angle is going to be slightly different, but what I'm going to say still applies to drawing a hand like this, okay? So first, you want to sketch out the overall shape. It's a funny shape, really. It's like between a square and an oval. Remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. We just want to map out the overall shape. Somewhere down the middle is where these bends of the fingers meet the palm. And around up to here is where these 2 fingers meet. Make a line down the middle, line here, to map out more or less where the fingers will go. This finger is actually more extended, so we'll draw a bit more of that. But there's a lot going on with the bend of the fingers. Like you're able to see a little bit of the side of this finger and this finger. So you'll want to represent that when you go in and draw all the details. Now again, this is just a really rough sketch of the hand. I'm just mapping everything out. But usually, this is how I would draw a hand, and then I would go in afterwards and start drawing in the details and the subtle bends of the fingers. Everyone's hand is very different, so the bends won't look exactly the same on everyone, and depending on your gender and your age, the joints of the fingers might become more knobby, more rugged, more pronounced. So it's super important to use reference for accuracy and to also sharpen your drawing skills. And right here, this is where you would see the side of the finger. A little bit of the tip of the pinky finger was showing. And the base of the finger here. And again, still a rough drawing. This is only spending about 2 or 3 minutes on the hand. Don't feel discouraged if it takes you longer to get to this point. It takes lots of practice. But if this were an actual drawing of mine, I would be spending at least another 10 minutes really cleaning it up, thinning out the lines, and making sure that the anatomy and the proportions and the perspective was correct. Do not use those wooden mannequin hands as reference. I repeat, Do not use wooden mannequin artist crap as reference. They have limited mobility. They do not pose the same way that the human hand does. And on top of that, the mannequin hands will never show you the full mobility of a thumb or the folds that form when it moves. So again, I emphasize use real life, real people, real photos of real people as reference. You will only benefit in the long run. This also goes for little wooden mannequin things. They're terrible. Hack number 3, we're still sticking to using your own hands as reference. You don't have to pose your hand the entire time as you're drawing it. You can actually just take a picture of your hand so that you can have that reference there, because especially when you're first learning, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. You're going to want to redraw, you're going to want to make little changes, and that's completely okay. Even professionals have to do that. It's alright. But definitely having photographic reference of your hand will make the process a lot more fun. And let's just say you took a picture of your left hand, but you want to draw a right hand. That's alright. Just flip the picture on your phone, and now you suddenly have a right hand. You know what else strengthens your drawing abilities? Like, let's just say you're drawing your left hand. Drawing a mirror image of it is so good for your drawing ability and will sharpen your skills. So I definitely recommend you doing that. A little bonus for you, baby. My next hack is you're using your hand as reference, but you're a lot younger than the person whose hand you're drawing, or you're the opposite gender of the person you're drawing. That's okay. You could do one of two things. One, you can go onto Google and throw a search for the hand pose and the age and gender of the person you want to draw, such as you could look up old man fist, right? And you'll find a lot of old men with their hands in a fist, and you can use that as reference. But a lot of times you won't actually find a photo that fits the exact pose that you're looking for. So you can do this. Use your own hand and sketch it out the way that I showed you in the first hack, where you map it all out. And then all the details, such as the wrinkles and so on, actually use photographic reference of an old man's hand. So you'll have the overall sketch of a fist based off of your own hand and your proportions and your anatomy. And then you kind of begin to alter it based off of the photos that you're finding online. So you might actually make the joint in the fingers more knobby so that they look older. You'll add wrinkles to the top of the hand. The knuckles and the sinew in the hands might actually become more prominent, all based off of the photographic reference that you found online. And for my next hack, which is more like something you have to keep in mind when drawing hand poses, so that your hand poses don't look crazy and your fingers don't look broken. What is the hack I'm going to tell you? Know which of your fingers are alphas and which are omegas. What are you talking about, girl? You making no sense. This is what I mean by that. But you're gonna have to play along with me, okay guys? So take your hand and put it on a flat surface. Now, follow along with me, okay? Try to raise your thumb and move it around. You can raise it and move it around pretty easily, right? That's because your thumb is an alpha. Now try to move your index finger. You can lift it, it can go in circles, it's really free. That's also an alpha. Now try to raise your middle finger. Pretty easy too, right? Try to move your pinky. You can also move that finger really well. But now try to move your ring finger. And now try to move it without moving any of the other fingers, okay? It's really having a hard time moving around, right? That's because your ring finger is an omega. It really doesn't have that much mobility on its own. However, try to raise your ring finger with your middle finger. Suddenly it can move a little easier, right? Move your ring finger with your pinky. Your ring finger cannot move without it moving with its surrounding fingers. So that's why you're able to do a thumbs up. You could point with one finger. You could flip the bird, and you could even drink tea real fancy with your pinky up. But you will never see somebody with a hand pose where their ring finger is all the way up. That's just not a natural pose for the human hand. So if you draw a hand pose, you can draw it like this, where the middle finger is kind of raised up. You can draw a hand like this. You could even draw a hand like this. But you cannot draw a hand with the ring finger up, it's gonna look like the finger's broken. On to the next hack. We sometimes draw a pose, including hands, and we're like, there's something off about this. Why does this look weird? Baby, there's a few things for you to do to figure out what is wrong with what you drew. You should have a mental checklist of sorts so that when you draw something, you go through each little thing that you've drawn and see if everything lines up properly, according to real life. Number 1, make sure each finger you draw only has 2 joints. It should only bend in 2 places. I cannot tell you how many illustrations I've seen where the artist gets too caught up in drawing the overall pose that they actually add an extra joint. So make sure the finger only has 2 places where it bends. Each finger should be made up of 3 segments, the top, the middle, and the base. And each segment is about the same size. So keep that in mind. This should not be super long and this should not be super short. They should all be more or less the exact same size. The next thing to keep in mind when going through the hand that you've drawn to make sure everything is anatomically correct is making sure the size of each finger is accurate. Obviously the pinky is the smallest, then the ring finger and the index finger are pretty much the same height, more or less, and then obviously the middle finger is the tallest. You see that, guys? Also, the pinky should line up with this line of the ring finger, the very first bend at the top. And when it comes to the thumb, depending on the pose, when the thumb is straight like this, it more or less lines up with the middle of the base segment of an index finger, but when it's bent, it could line up with the top of the palm. And also, the top of the palm here actually follows the same slope and shape as the tips of the fingers. You see that? I know it sounds like a lot of information, but the best way to make sure that you get all this right and to help you memorize all this is always use real life reference when drawing hands, because when you're drawing from reference, you have a way to make sure that everything is lining up perfectly because it's right there in front of you to refer to and examine. You know what I mean? So definitely draw from life all the time, and all this stuff I just mentioned will literally just become second nature to you. You're going to do it without thinking, as long as you practice all the time and you draw from life. Also, keep in mind the direction and angle of the fingernails. Okay, you don't even understand how many drawings I've seen where the finger is obviously at a side view, but the fingernail is like on the side. So it makes the finger look like it's all twisted and tangled and mangled and crazy. So make sure that you're really paying attention to the angles of the nails so that it doesn't look crazy and your artwork looks more accurate. No matter what style you want to draw in, I emphasize and beg of you to please learn to draw from life first. It is super important to be able to draw from life first so that you learn the proper rules of anatomy and proportion, and then take what you've learned and apply that to whatever style you want to create. It'll only benefit you in the long run, and you'll become a more skilled and confident artist. Even if you're using real life as reference and you're just simplifying it for your style, your art will definitely benefit from knowing how to use real life things as reference. This goes for architecture, animal, plants, and people, clothing, all of it. You can't go wrong learning how to draw from life. Please check out the other videos from my life hack series. The link to my playlist of all my life hacks are right there in the description box below, so please check them out, guys. Don't forget to like this video if you found it useful, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any more videos like this. Okay, guys, so until next time, please take care, God bless, and do not be afraid to nerd out. Take care, guys.